tell no one come at me.
Welcome, friend or stranger, to another video on my YouTube channel talking League of Legends. In the summer split of the 2020 LCK season, DRX finished in second place after finishing in third in the spring split. At Worlds, DRX performed exactly up to expectation, finishing second in their group behind the first seed from the LPL in top esports, and falling to the eventual world champions in Damwon Gaming in the quarterfinals. At the end of the year, DRX had proven that they had only one major weakness, which was their incredibly bad matchup against Damwon. Against every other opponent, they mostly, almost always, managed to at least make it competitive. A glaring weakness, admittedly, but especially looking back now, not one that looks that bad anymore. Within DRX, their bottom lane was one of the parts that made them so strong. With Deft at his side, Keria was part of one of the best bottom lanes in the LCK throughout the year, dominating the lane at the best of times and roaming onto the map when the 2v2 didn't go their way. In the future, I think this bottom lane could have developed to become even better, with growth from Keria coming into his second season after his rookie year. Deft could have provided a great, stable basis for the mechanical peaks of Keria. And even in the case of off games for Keria, Deft is the kind of reliable, experienced veteran that can hold it together without much help from his support, lose a lane gracefully, and then come into the team fights later on while, yes, behind, but still providing value for his team. Deft has proven he's a very consistent player, and while it wasn't his best split or even year by a long shot, he's definitely also far from washed up. I'm also kind of sad to see Keria leave Pioshik's side, since it would have been great to see these two rookies climb the ranks of the LCK together and potentially become a great jungle support duo in the future. Well, all of these considerations have been reduced to hypotheticals and musings of the past, because for the upcoming 2021 season of LCK, Keria has joined T1. But, as is somewhat customary for a lot of Korean teams, he's not just flat out their starter, because their announcement read that Keria has joined T1, not necessarily replaced Effort. Equally, T1 have two AD carries on the roster that have both seen play in 2020 and both need to be considered when assessing this roster move. Effort won't be mentioned from here on out, since a T1 with Effort on the Rift is logically a T1 without Keria. As an individual player, Keria is one of the most mechanically gifted supports the LCK has produced. If Mata is remembered as the brain of LCK supports, the potential is there for Keria to be remembered as the brawn at the end of his career. Being well known for the champion, Keria and his Thresh even made it into the LCK 2020 summer hype trailer, going up against staples such as Faker's Azir and Nuguri's Chase. When he's really feeling it, Keria has a tendency to go towards these hook supports like Thresh, like the Nautilus, or even his pocket pick Pyke. If T1 elect to field Teddy in the bottom lane, I see a similar scenario as with Deft. An experienced, high-level AD carry at Keria's side that has not had his best splits recently, but who has proven that he is one of the best. And while Teddy was subbed out when it came to the regional qualifiers in Korea, don't forget that it wasn't just Teddy being terrible that led to him being subbed out of the lineup. In summer, T1 experimented with their roster quite a lot, both Faker getting out for closer and Kaz getting subbed out for Elim, shows that it wasn't just Teddy playing badly that led to his substitution with Gumayushi. I think Teddy's play in summer can be rather described as unremarkable. With Gumayusi in the bottom lane, I would see a much more explosive bot lane for T1. Two rather unproven but highly talented mechanical players pairing up in that bottom lane. Gumayusi has already shown us that he's willing to pull out his pocket Draven, and while his inexperience was exposed and exploited in some games that we saw, we've also seen him pop off like crazy and carry the entire game for T1. So, how could these two bottom lanes play into the rest of the roster of T1? Kana in top has already shown that he has the potential to be one of the best top laners in the LCK, period. For 2021, I want to see Kana refine his playstyle a little bit more, learn more about the intellectual side of the game to complement his individual skills that have netted him the most solo kills in the 2020 LCK summer split. As a player, I think Kana is still on the up and up, but proven to some degree, actually kind of similar to Keria in that respect. In mid, T1 have Faker and Closer, the two opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to experience. Faker, of course, is the ultimate veteran, and while he has had better years as well, he's an incredibly stable player, and he's supposedly even a shot caller for the team now. Not setting up the entire game, chess master, Dandy Mata style, but more on a basic level, setting up the structure for the team. And by the way, when you can win one of the best regions in the world domestically and have it still be talked about as one of your worst years, you know you made it. Closer is the new kid on the block, but he's already shown a lot of potential in his 15 games 41 in summer. But with this small a sample size of professional games in the LCK, of course, there's still an asterisk next to Closer. First of all, more than half of his games in the LCK came on one champion, Zoe. Second of all, also more than half games of his entire play in the LCK 2020 came against teams that finished outside of the playoff contention in the bottom half of the standings. And thirdly, only one of his games actually came in the high pressure scenario of the playoffs themselves. Nonetheless, the games that Closer was given to show himself looked really good and really promising for the future. So I think you could say that there's a very similar dynamic for T1 in mid as there is in bot. As explained earlier, Teddy, as well as Faker, has already proven himself time and time again against the best in the LCK. Not to the level that Faker has, but then again, no one has. Teddy has proven that he can hang with the best in summer, as well as in spring, in the playoffs, as well as in the regulars part of the season, with the team on his shoulders or with a good team around him. Gumayusi hasn't proven any of that, but at the very least, he has proven that he is very, very talented. In summary, a well-experienced veteran as well as a up-and-coming youth to compete for the veteran spot in both mid and bot. And that's the point. T1 have an incredibly interesting mix of proven veterans and unproven talents going into next year. Bringing in the World Championship coaching staff from Damon Gaming, Zephyr and Danny is just the icing on the cake. They will find a very nice base to work with at T1. From this roster of veterans and talents, you can mix and match to throw together different lineups and see what sticks, which I think the coaching staff will do in spring to figure out their exact formula going into summer and then Worlds. I have no idea how T1 was able to get that World Championship coaching staff from Damon Gaming, but the rumors out there are that some players are leaving Damon Gaming too, so maybe that roster believes they have peaked and wouldn't be able to replicate the same results again next year. I mean, how could you, winning LCK and Worlds? No one does that. Except for one team, it's T1. Or more precisely, except for one player, Faker. So with that context, I think it's very understandable for Keria to want to join T1. If you haven't realized yet, I'm very excited for this team in 2021. And while I won't be cheering for T1 due to their handling of recent public events, I am very much looking forward to their competitive League of Legends team next year. And I think it will be one of the most interesting teams in the LCK to watch. Whether they can be among the best or even be the best themselves remains to be seen. But purely from a strategical standpoint, I think they will be the most interesting team in the 2021 season. Not a bad video. Oh, you're still here? Wait. Did I miss something? Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Plays between the lanes where I think this guy Bengi was his name, was to live. Jokes aside, obviously didn't talk about the jungle role in this video because I still hold out if T1 will actually make a roster move in that position. Neither Kaz nor Elim has really convinced me with their 2020 play that they can be a world-class jungler. And I think that is what T1 has to aspire to be, world-class. As always, thanks for watching, and if you've made it this far, why not also move your little cursor down to that like and subscribe button, maybe even switch over to another browser tab or app called Twitter, where you can also follow me or engage with me about any of the stupid stuff that I said in this video. Until then, farewell.